Hi there, this is Walter from Zimstones by Walter, and today I'm going to be creating a card using the December Whit Kit card kit from Unity Stamp Company. Unity, if you're not familiar with them, makes beautiful rubber stamps. Their Whit Kit, which is a subscription, has a different set each month, comes with directions for you, but also comes with a bunch of really cool items. First of all, an exclusive rubber stamp set. This month happened to be the Radiant Moonlit Forest, and it is really pretty. And I think it has some great messages for the new year, which is why I'm using it today. It came with some really cool white wooden snowflakes, a nice frame set, some really pretty paper. You get a paper pack with every Whit Kit, and also this really nice moon stencil. So let's get started. Since this is a winter card, I want a really nice, bright white cardstock that's going to have just a small border around it. And you'll see why I want that once I have the card put together. Then I took a piece of white cardstock. This is just like 65 pound, and I just took 1/8 of an inch off the width and the length, so that it's just going to, once it's all colored in, is just going to have that thin white border around it. Okay, so before doing any kind of stamping, I want to get the sky onto the card base, the front panel. And to do that, I'm going to be using some Faded Jeans Distress Oxide and some Spun Sugar Distress Oxide. And I may even throw in a little bit of Lost Shadow Distress Oxide. So I'm going to start with the blue, work my way down. I'm going to blend some of the pink in with the blue to get like a purplish color, and then the pink down the bottom to just give it a really pretty sunset kind of sky. Okay, I've loaded up some of that oxide, the Faded Jeans Oxide ink onto my brush, and I'm just coming in and adding that onto this card panel. When doing something like this, you can do as light or as dark as you'd like. It's really up to you, and whatever the sky that you are envisioning is going to look like. This is your project, so it can look however you want it to look. The way I see a sky is, especially at sunset, you get that really darker blue starting up at the top, and then it kind of fades down as the sun is lower on that horizon. So that's what I'm going to work with. And since these are Oxide inks, I'm using the foam stamping circles just because, you know, I can dispose of them easily, but I can also easily interchange them, and I don't want to contaminate my my brushes that I use for my my regular non-oxide inks, because you don't want to blend those together. If you watch any of the Tim Holtz videos, he always warns us about that. It can ruin your other ink pad, and why have to buy another ink pad? There, I like that color for the blue, and I like the shape of it too. So next, now that I have that in, oh, actually, you know what? I do want to come down a bit more with some more blue, but I'm going to blend some pink into it. So let me get that blue on first, and I may come in if the purple's not what I'm looking for, to add some more, but we'll start with this for right now. let's get some more blue extending down. Okay, let's start with that, and I can always come back with some more afterwards. And if you've never worked with these, simple, just peel it off, and then I'll leave it to the side so I can easily stick it back onto the Velcro later if needed. What I also like about these is as I go to add in the pink to make the purple, I can flip to the other side. So I can use this side for making the purple, and then I can flip it around and, you know, get the pink and not get any of the blue or the purple color onto that ink pad. So you can also just tap it off like that too. I need some more of that on there. And I just like to blend to make sure that it's like a gradual and not an immediate type of going from one color to the next. I feel it's a more realistic kind of looking sky then. Okay, so I'm happy, but I'd like to come in with a little bit more blue there to kind of make that a little bit darker for the purplish. So get a little more blue on there. And then I'll probably go over just one more time with a little pink. Yeah, because that's covering it up. That's fine. Again, it allows me to come back and do some more blending. All right, so that's enough blue. Let's get the pink back on. There we go. Now I am just going to flip that over just to pick up any of that bluey purple that may have gotten onto that oxide pad and start to come down with the pink. And with this spun sugar, it's a lighter, so you definitely want to get enough on there so it's not too light. And right about there is good. I'm just going to come in with a little bit more here, but I'm happy with that. I like the way it's blended in. You can just lightly come up and blend that in so it's a nice gradual come down. I like that. So I'm actually going to stop there with this. The next thing I'm going to do is add in some snow. For my snow, I'm going to use some, it's a white pigment ink from Lawn Fawn called Yeti. It's very juicy, and it's a great white ink. I use it a lot. And so to start, I'm just going to come in and blend in some white here. And I'm going to be careful not to go too far up into that pink at all, simply because I don't want to. But I just want to add like a base coat of white on here. And then I'll show you what else I will be doing, just to like give it a nice chilly winter feel and look. And that's the great thing about this white, is it will cover up if you went down too far with the pink. It'll definitely cover it up. But there. Now, and I didn't go like straight across because I want to give the indication that, it's not a straight line. There's some slopes there. It's could be a little hilly or something. Okay. So that's the white. Now, since it's night, I know that there is the possibility that there's some shadows, and that the snow doesn't look as glistening white. And so what I want to do is take a little bit of that lost shadow, and I actually have a brush here that I use for, here we go, for my lost shadow. So I'm going to grab that brush, and it's just one of these. And I like this one because it kind of adds in some striations with it, which I think is cool, but then you can also blend with it. So I'm just going to take some lost shadow onto this brush, load it up, and I'm just going to gently come back and forth just to add a little bit of a shadow in there. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. And what it also does is it kind of gives it some more definition and helps that stand out. I didn't want to just use lost shadow. I like the combination of that with the white, but I think that's perfect. I'm going to leave it alone just like that. And now we can actually get to doing some stamping. Okay, so I have my card panel down on my stamping platform, and I have my panel secured down, and I have my larger stamp from the of the tree lines from the set positioned where I want it to be. And this is going to be a two-step process for this stamping. What I want to do first is start with the indication that there is a little bit of snow or a little bit of radiation of the light, radiating light from the moon will end up creating coming off of these trees. And so I'm going to start with some Lost Shadow Oxide ink, and I'm going to put that down first. Just ink it up really well. I'm sorry, that's a little out of camera shot, but you can see what I'm doing. You get the gist of it. Let's get that down. That's going to be the first stamp that we do. And so I'm now going to bring that down onto my card. There we go. If, you could actually just leave it like this. That is super pretty. It's super light, but it's super pretty. You could totally just leave it like that. But there's something else that I want to do. So I'm going to clean off the stamp, get all that oxide off of there. I'm just using a baby wipe to get in between and get that oxide off. And then I will just go ahead and use a rag to wipe across and dry it. Next, I'm going to take just some regular black ink, and for that I'm using the Lawn Fawn Fundamentals Jet Black. But before I add the ink on, I want to take my stamp, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I just want to nudge it down just a little bit on the stamping platform, because I know where it's set right now is perfect for alignment with those trees. And I just want to come down a little bit in order to get the black, but then have the lost shadow showing up on behind it. And so I moved that end over here down just a bit. And I'm going to hold that in place because I don't want it to shift much from there. But then, once I have that end in place, I can just pick it up and move the rest of it. And what I love about this particular stamping platform is that there are lines, a grid, and you can just use the lines of that grid. That's where I had moved it to. So we can just use the lines of the grid to help get this back into alignment with the part I'm holding down. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. I just wanted to have that little bit of background. There. So now I'll come in with my black ink, load up the stamp, get a good amount of coverage on there, so that perhaps we only end up stamping this once. And now, come back in and get this stamped. Going to carefully get rid of that little piece of fiber from the pad that came off. Didn't do any damage to our sky, which is nice. But I'm going to do the black one more time, but do you see what I mean by like that little, it gives it like a snow effect or a little bit of light. It's really cool. I love that. And I wanted it not to be right on top. I wanted it just to be off a little bit. So I'm going to load this up again. If you have a stamping tool, of course, you can use your stamping tool to add some pressure and some weight to getting that on there. That is really nice. I think I'm going to go just one more time with the black. So we'll get that loaded up. That's pretty. Just press that down. There we go. I absolutely love that. That was the effect I was going for, so I'm happy with that part now. So I'm gonna clean off my stamp and I will show you what we're gonna do next. Okay, so I wanted to get something on the ends of each of these. Simply because I like to fill it up. So they have, the kit came with 3 individual trees. So I put one on one end, one on the other. And with these, I'm not going to use the lost shadow. I am simply going to just go ahead and I want to move those out of the way now. This is just going to be an easy stamp of black ink before we come back in with some additional lost shadow down on the snow to blend some things in. So I got those inked up. Now I'm going to bring them over and stamp those down. Just going to do it one more time. I want to apply some pressure to this one on the end here. Doesn't seem to be getting as dark. Perfect. I am happy with that. Actually, I'm just going to come in. Do I want to add? No, you know what? I don't. I am good with that. So I'm going to get these stamps cleaned up. Okay, I'm now going to come back in with some of the lost shadow. And the first thing I want to do is just run it along this black bar here that got stamped in for this part of the horizon. Just to get that lightened up a bit. And I want to get some over on the edges here just to give an indication of some additional snow. So you'll see now why I had wanted that white down as the base was to give me something to blend with. As I was adding in some additional lost shadow and whatnot. So that looks good. I am happy with that. So now that we have that part taken care of, there's two more things to do for this card. One is to get the sentiment on here, and the other is to make the moon. Before getting to the sentiment, I decided there was one more thing I wanted to do. Actually two, because I'll come back in with some more of the lost shadow. But I didn't stamp that black coming across, but I do want to add something in just to make it consistent. And so I'm going to come in with a marker and just gently extend that over to the side. And fill that in. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. There. Now I'll come back in with the lost shadow. And get some, and lighten that up a bit. And I'm just going to tap a bit just to blend that in. I want to be careful not to tap too much onto my skyline, my horizon, but there we go there. And then I'm just going to come in and do the same on this end, just lightly tap some of that on there. Brush it over a bit too. There we go. Just going to do a little bit more over here. There. I love it. Time for the sentiment. This kit came with 3 really beautiful sentiments. One is let light shine out of darkness. Another is Darling, the moon is still the moon in all of its phases. I adore that one. And the last one is You Were Made to Shine. And You Were Made to Shine is going to fit perfectly down here on my snow line, in that snowy area where I would like to place it, because then we're going to make a moon that I'm going to place up in the sky. Could also place that up there, but I want something to draw the eye down, and I think the sentiment is the perfect thing for that. That looks pretty straight to me. So I'm going to get my stamp on. For this one, I'm going to use a thicker black ink, and so I'm going to go with the VersaFine Claire. It's a pigment ink, and it's going to cling and stamp there really well. You'll just want to be careful because it takes a little bit longer to dry than the other black. Stamp that down. Perfect. Don't even need to do it another time. I am happy with the way that looks. And the font on that sentiment is really pretty too, so I'm happy with that. Okay, for my moon, I am going to start with a piece of cream colored cardstock. It doesn't matter, you can use white. I happen to have this scrap piece of cream that I can use, and the white pigment ink, and just come in. Oh, gotta hold it, Walter. Just come in and add that white in. Why I also like to use the cream is so that it's not just a stark white for the moon. It gives kind of like that natural soft glow of, that yellowish that people often associate with the moon, without having to use yellow. I have stenciling platforms and stuff. I'm actually working on a magnetic one that I could use, but when filming, I just tend to go with whatever's available. And so I have the outline. I'm just going to come in with a little bit more in the center, and that looks great. I'm stopping there. I am happy with that. So that's the base of the moon. Now for the rest of the moon. I am just going to align the stencil on there. And since this is adding in some detail, I do want to make sure that it doesn't shift on me this time. So what I'm going to do is just grab a small piece of Post-it tape and just secure that down. Now for this part, what I want to do is grab my silver pigment ink to come in, and I don't want a ton, I just want a little to show up. And so I'm just gonna put a felt pad on, load that up with a good amount of ink so that maybe I don't even have to go back into it. Again, I'm not looking for too dark. I just want to give a lighter indication of the detail here. But I like doing it with silver rather than gray, just to give it a little bit of a sparkle, a little bit of something else. Whatever you would like to do in this beautiful little world that you're creating. That's it. That's all I wanted. that looks great. I'm really happy with that. I'm gonna get that cut out and decide on placement and whether or not I'm gonna use the entire thing or just part of it. Okay, so I fussy cut out my moon. As I said earlier, really like it. I think it looks great. I am gonna use the whole thing, but what I want to do is add some dimension to it. So it's a great time to use up some of these scrap pieces of double-sided foam tape strips that I have. I'm just going to go ahead and add these onto the back. And I like that it's going to just add a little bit of dimension to the sky, make the moon pop out a bit. There we go. So I'm just going to peel the back off of those. And this is like a super moon. It's one of those, it's definitely I think it looks like what I would call a winter moon, a snow moon. I don't know if people in other parts of the country or the world, I'm in the US, say that, but I remember growing up, my mother would look up at the sky and see a big, not too yellowish moon like this and say that that was a snow moon. And I've always used that term too. So with the tape on there, I'm going to have it sit right about there so that its reflection is coming right down onto those trees. I'm going to add in that moon. Little details are always important. And so there's a couple of little details that I want to add here. The set came with a really fun constellation stamp. That is the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper. I'm not quite sure which one. I guess it could be either. Could also be the Belt of Orion. But I want to add that in. And so I have that loaded, and I'm just going to put some of the silver pigment ink onto here. And you want it to be high in the sky because that's where you're going to start to see the stars. You're not going to see them down here yet. Because the sun is just setting, but perhaps this one, this cluster is starting to be visible in the sky. I'm not pressing too hard because I don't want a huge, that's perfect. Just that little detail to show those stars starting to come out. Two more details that we'll go over next. So for, little details make up the, really do make up so much, and they're what can set your card apart. One, from any kind of mass-produced card, but two, it's your chance to add in your spin on it versus your fellow crafters. And so I have a liquid chrome pen, and what I'm going to do is just come in and add some up at the top, some random dots. I don't know what happened to the pen there. Guess I need to shake it a bit more. Doesn't seem to be coming out just yet. Let me press it on the board here. There we go. So I'm just going to come in and add some random. Doesn't seem to be working. There we go. I'm going to come in and add some further just random stars in the night sky. Doesn't have to be a lot. Wherever you'd like, just starting to show themselves up here high in the sky. Maybe not as many around the moon, since you may not see them because of the the glow of it. One more there. Just some random stars. I like it. The other detail I want to add in is I'm going to take my Sakura Jelly Roll pen, white pen, and I just on top of this black here, let me make sure it's gonna come out here. There we go. I just want to come in with a little bit of a snow line on top of that. This is optional. You don't have to. But again, it's, for me, just a little detail that I like. If you wanted to add some snow falling in the sky, you could do that. The kit comes with those really nice wooden ones. You could always add some of those on to create some depth and for something fun and folky. I just need to run this around on a scrap piece of paper to get it to, actually I can just flip this. There we go. Just needed to get it running. I don't know why it wasn't coming out as easily as it normally does. But just adding that little bit of detail in there with the white. You can easily just add it right into the black area too. Just to add some further definition. This one seems to be drying up. I'm not quite sure why. I am going to grab a different white pen. I actually have one that my college friend Laurie had brought back from Japan for me. It's a really beautiful pen, and this just flows. This one's going much better than the Jelly Roll. I'm just putting that across, adding in that detail. I'm going to do the same thing here, just so it's not just a stark black line. You know, you get the idea that there's something going on back there. There. Okay, so that looks great. We can now get it onto the card base and be done. So for getting it on the card base, I could glue it, I could use double-sided adhesive, but I actually want some further dimension to have it standing off of the base a bit. And so I'm gonna use double-sided foam strips to adhere it down to the base. I'm pretty liberal with these. You can, if you choose to go this route, you can add as many or as few as you'd like. It's your card, whatever you'd like to do. I always like to make sure that there's pretty good coverage so that if, you know, anything happened in the mail and it got pressed down, it's not gonna look like dented in the middle. So I wanna make sure that there's support in the middle there, but whatever you do or you like is up to you. So there are the ones going across. Now I have some shorter ones I'm going to use on the sides. One there. These are from the same company that I bought on Amazon, so I know that the height is going to be the same. So they worked it well together. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to peel those off and we'll get this centered on the base. Okay, my foam strips are off. I have my card base here. I think I want to do it from this angle. And all I want to do is just line it up and make sure that it looks about even on all sides. I'm actually going to go this way because I'm worried about the top and the bottom being equidistant. I could use the grid, I realize this, but what fun is it if you're not like guessing and trying to make it work yourself? The great thing is the foam strips can be forgiving too if you happen to drop it a bit like I just did. That looks about good, especially on the sides. Nope, but that bottom is not lined up. So let me come up again. So let's also get the bottom. go. And this is why I wanted the nice white, is to kind of offer that juxtaposition to the night sky and the snow that we have here with a little bit of a you know, that shadowy tinge on it. Now, if you wanted to, we could have done a stamp coming down in just the gray, kind of like creating the shadow down here. That would have looked really nice. I just thought of that, or I would have done it. If I hadn't yet stamped the sentiment, I would have. But the sentiment, you were made to shine. Like the moon, like the stars, like winter itself. This is so pretty. I'm really glad that I got this Whit Kit. I can see using it quite a bit, especially for Christmas cards, but also, you know, in the fall too, to create some really nice fall scenes. I hope you enjoyed this. Love to hear from you. Drop a comment, and I'd love to see what you make, so put those in the comments too. Until next time, be well.